Whoa. Whoa. I wasn't ready. I thought that I was, but I wasn't. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, God. Oh, no. I wasn't ready at all. Uh, I wasn't ready. Hey, what's up, dudes? Hello, everybody. I am that one guy, the flock leader Hawk, and today we're trying to keep my phone from falling. Today we're gonna have a review of Infinity War. Um, I have a list of things that I want to talk about. Just the things that I thought were most uh, the most prevalent, and I'm gonna wing it a little bit too on what I'm doing and stuff. But I do have to say, way ahead of time, this will be a spoiler filled review. Like 100%. If you have not seen Infinity War, please, please, please go see it before you watch this live stream, especially after this stream has come up and has turned into a video. Please, 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 please watch this movie first. This movie is uh, uh, is incredible. So I guess we should just get into it. I wanted to. I was gonna make this into a video, um, but I decided not to. I thought that it would be better if you guys had your own thoughts and opinions on what happened. That you could interject and talk about what you thought was cool. This is opening weekend. I don't know how many of you guys actually went to go see it. I went to go see it Friday, the day after it came out. So I mean, I saw it really early. Um, but yeah, so here we go. Overall, let's talk about the overall of the movie before we start getting into the nitty grit. I love this movie. I think that this movie was fantastic. Like I, just thinking about it, um, just thinking about everything that I really enjoyed about this movie. There were tons of really great parts of this movie. Overall, it was really good. This movie will blue ball you. I felt very blue balled after I left the movie theater. I felt like there was a lot that I wanted to happen, or there was a lot that I wanted to be resolved, but wasn't. And I think that's cool. I think that that's what they were going for. So that doesn't really bother me at all. Um, the the Russo brothers, directed this movie. The Russo brothers directed Civil War, so they've already kind of done big ensemble teen movies before, which is really cool, and I really appreciate that they were the ones in charge of this project, because this is like a really big thing. This is like a super 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 big thing. So this is 10 years of movies culminating to this one big point. And yeah, so I have this little notepad, and I keep writing on it because anytime I think about something I want to talk about, I just write it down on there. It's not really an order of things to talk about. It's mainly like things that I would like to talk about. Um, and as we go through, you'll see me looking down here and writing things down, because there's some things I don't want to forget that I really do want to talk about. Um, so I think that what the Russo brothers did, with getting everyone together, was perfect. How do you give every single person their own amount of screen time? Is one of the biggest problems you can have with such a big ensemble. And we've seen other movies where where bringing, lots of characters together is hard because you want to give them their screen time. And this is not a shit on DC live stream. This is an Infinity War live stream. But Justice League had this problem where I felt like we didn't get to have the right amount of time with everybody. But with Infinity War, I did not feel that way at all. In Infinity War, I thought everybody got the screen time that they personally deserved. And I really, really appreciate how the Russo brothers did that. Because they kind of they set up the cast into groups, so that way instead of focusing on individual people, we could focus on Group A, Group B, and Group C. And that way, if you give each group the same amount of screen time, you then give every single character the same amount of screen time. There was really only one character that legitimately had his own screen time by himself, as just as much as anybody else, and he wasn't in a group, and that was Thanos. And Thanos, who was played by Josh Brolin in this movie, was fantastic. Like, he was incredible. Like, he brought something to that role that I think needed to be brought in order for this movie to work, in order for his character to work. So I'm really excited with what he did with Thanos, and just the overall quality of the movie. Oh, shout out to my buddy Mikey, this sweet ass shirt. Thanks, Mikey. You're my dude. So they're able to take all of these characters, right? These characters that everybody loves for individual reasons, who have their own individual movies, right? These characters who have their own sequels and their own cameos and their own whatever. Literally 10 years, over 20 movies worth of films. And you have this whole dynasty that the Russo brothers had to commit to, and had to understand and know that this isn't just another this isn't just another Hollywood blockbuster. Like, this movie is huge. This movie is 10 years in the making. This movie was going to be a thing since the Tesseract in Captain America. Since we saw Thanos at the end of the first Avengers movie. So, and I think that they handled it very, very well. I think that the way that they were able to weave a believable story of all these characters, that's a point that I want to hit. I really like, when you bring all these characters together, they're all not from the same place. They've all experienced different things, So you see someone like, one of my favorite interactions in the movie. This is a perfect example. You have Groot, who is a tree monster, and you have Captain America, the all-American Boy Scout, right? And those two things, and when you actually sit down and look at it, those two things should never meet. They just don't mix well together. But one of the cutest scenes in the movie is Thor is introducing Groot to Steve, and Groot is like, I am Groot, and Steve is like, I am Steve Rogers, and it's adorable and it's so funny. And it works because Steve isn't like, tree monster. Steve is like, that's tree monster. Like, I fought a dude who's literally was his head was a red skull, and he was super strong. Like, like I've fought aliens. You know what I mean? I really like how comic booky this movie is. This movie's very, very ambitious with what it wants to do with itself. Like, and it works. It works because it put itself out there, because it was willing to go the extra mile and make it feel like a comic book movie. One of my favorite scenes is when Thanos. I'm going to use my prop here. When Thanos uses the Infinity Gauntlet to bring down like a fucking moon on planet, right? He takes the Infinity Gauntlet and he brings down a moon onto this planet while he's fighting, and it's so sick. It is insane, and it's the most comic book thing I've ever seen in a movie. And it Civil War, you felt bad in that added tension to what was happening. And so, the Russo brothers, they made they made Civil War, so they understand what it means to bring all of these comic book characters together and make an unrealistic movie. This movie has no right to work as well as it does. It has no right to be as good as it is. This movie made more money than Star Wars opening week, right? The Star Wars record is like 240 million. Crushed it. $630 million. The day's not even over. Like, as I'm recording this, as we're doing this, it's Sunday, right? Opening weekend is still happening. It's not even nighttime. It's like not even like 5 o'clock yet, I don't think. So, like, there's so much time that this movie has left, and it's already crushing records for opening weekend. And for good reason, because it's fucking good. The Russo brothers knew what they were doing. They knew how to bring these characters together. They knew how to pack it all in and how to make us believe the conflict and believe that all of these characters can live in the same universe together. It felt different. Like, I remember watching this movie and it felt different. It felt right. Like, it felt like a comic book movie. Like, the first Avengers movie was really good, and I didn't like Age of Ultron. But the first Avengers movie was really good, and it kind of brought these characters together. It's like, oh, ha ha ha, they don't get along. That's great, right? And then, like, the Russo brothers really took that a step farther when they made Civil War. They were like, yeah, they don't get along. They have different ideologies and they're different people. And so obviously they're going to think in a different way than each other. And so they were able to make these unrealistic characters live and breathe and act in such a realistic situation. And they're able to make an unrealistic scenario feel real. And that's what Infinity War felt like. It felt real. It felt like, yes, the stakes are this high. And that's one of the points I want to hit. This movie starts off with literally the best the stakes are high moment, right? Everybody before this movie actually came out was like, oh, well, the Hulk is totally going to beat up Thanos, right? Obviously, right? And then not even 2 minutes into this movie, Thanos beats the shit out of the Hulk, right? And then the Hulk is afraid to become the Hulk. Bruce Banner can't turn into the Hulk because the Hulk is afraid to come back out again because he's afraid of Thanos. That's literally perfect, right? That shows you that this dude does not fuck around. He also starts off already having the Power Stone, right? And that's a big thing for me. I'm glad we didn't have to go through him fucking having to go to Xandar and getting the Power Stone from the Nova Corps. Like, it's better implied. It's better that I genuinely, in my mind, I'm glad that they didn't bring that up. Because, like, the fact that he thought it was nothing means so much to his character. Because, like, to him, he was like, oh, yeah, I've already got one stone. Like, I already took care of Xandar. You know? And the Guardians are shocked. They're like, "Oh my God, Xandar! Like how many people died there? We had friends there." And he just brushes it off like, "Oh, that's just another speck of dirt underneath me." And it's legitimately fantastic. After beating up the Hulk, he gets the Space Stone, and then he's able to like teleport everywhere. He's able to freaking like do whatever he wants, and and it's just so good. Also, the first death of the movie, like legit, like oh my god, character death is Heimdall, which is the gatekeeper for Asgard. He's the one who can summon the Bifrost Bridge with his sword. The guy who teleports everybody everywhere and all that stuff. He dies. He's the first one. All of the Asgardians die. All of them, literally all of them, with the exception of Thor, and he almost dies. Um, and then I think it was really great to see Loki's arc finally culminate to something, right? Like really actually build up and culminate, because all these, he starts off as a villain, but as we've seen him grow through these movies, we know he's not a shitty person, right? Like he's a good guy. He's just mischievous, right? And at the beginning, Thanos is literally about to explode Thor's head, and is like, "All right, so if you don't want to give me the Tesseract, then I'm just gonna kill your brother." And Loki's like, "Do it! Like I've wanted to see my brother dead for a long time." And then he's literally about to kill him, and Loki stops him. And then later, after the fight with Hulk, Loki tries to kill Thanos again, right? And um it's a really good arc for him but especially because right before he attacks, um right before he attacks Thanos, he starts talking about who he is. Earlier, like a couple of minutes before it had happened, Thanos calls Loki an Asgardian, and then Loki's like, "Oh, I'm no Asgardian." But before he goes to attack Thanos, right? Um, Before he legitimately tries to um, attack Thanos, he's like, "I'm Loki, the god of mischief," right? And then he looks at Thor, and he's like, "Odin's son." And I was like, "Yes, dude, that's where it's at." Like Loki, this entire time, Loki has always denied who who he was raised to be. He even calls himself, I'm Loki, god of mischief, Odin's son, the rightful heir of Asgard. And it's a really touching moment. It's a really deep, provocative moment where you're like, oh my gosh, like Loki has grown as a character, and I've watched him grow for 10 years. I've watched this build up happen, and now it's finally here. We're finally here at this moment. Um, but Thanos chokes Loki to death, right? And Loki straight up dies. And as he's killing him, he's like, "No more resurrections. Like you're dead, dead." So Heimdall was like the first kind of character that we kind of know that dies, but Loki was when the audience knows that this dude is not fucking around. Okay, you can beat up the Hulk. Okay, he's big and tough, but like Loki, like he's a god, literally kills Loki, and doesn't bat an eye, and it just shows how destructive he is, and it's really good. Our That leads into us kind of meeting everybody. Oh, let's see, get that camera back. Us kind of meeting everybody, and where the stakes are going to be. We meet Tony and Peter and Doctor Strange, who are all and Bruce Banner, the Hulk. He lands down on Heimdall. That's like Heimdall's last thing he does before he sends before he dies, is he sends the Hulk back to Earth to kind of warn everybody. And it's so we have our first group, which is Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Peter Parker, and Bruce Banner, and it works. It totally works. And that was a good way to get those characters together. Or all of these characters together, is to separate them in groups, and then you have like group B. So our second group is kind of like the Guardians, and they get together with Thor. So now we have that group, but they kind of split up. So instead of being just group B, they're now like group B and group C. So it's Drax, Gamora, uh, Mantis, and Peter Quill, Star-Lord. So they're like Group B. Group C, which is created by the Guardians splitting up, is Rocket, Groot, and Thor. And then like our group D is kind of like I said, some of these groups kind of come together and come apart sometimes. But our group D is Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, the Vision. God, why am I blanking right now? War Machine. So that's kind of our group D. And then our and Falcon, by the way, don't forget Falcon. And then kind of our group E, which isn't really a group as much as it is an entire nation. You have Wakanda as a nation, is kind of the group E. So you have T'Challa. You also have Bucky, but Bucky's no longer the Winter Soldier. He's the White Wolf. So, and then those characters, group D and E combined. So it ends up being Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Vision, War Machine, Black Widow, Falcon, Black Panther, the White Wolf, all of Wakanda, and their job is they're trying to get rid of the Mind Stone, so that Thanos can't have it. But they're trying to take it off of Vision's head because they're like, oh well, if we blow it up on Vision's head, he'll die, and they refuse to kill him. So that's kind of why Wakanda's involved. The Guardians accidentally meet Thor, and then they get sent on their quest. Peter and his crew. They go off to go face Thanos and try to stop him from getting another stone. Basically, everybody's trying to stop Thanos from getting the stones, but like a different stone. It's not like the same stone. For example, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man are all trying to prevent Thanos from getting the Time Stone. And I think that this is the perfect way to do this. I'm glad that they did it in groups, so that way we could see them in different points in time, but we could still have the same screen time for everybody. And it's really great because it really makes you feel like this situation is big, because they go across the universe. Like, it's not just Earth. It's like Earth, and then they're on Titan, and then they're at Minerva or whatever, the place where Mjolnir was created, and and then they go to tons of different planets and stuff, and there's all this crazy stuff, and it makes it feel big. It makes it feel like this is a thing, and you really don't want Thanos to get these stones. Group B, which is like the guard, Star-Lord, they try to stop Thanos from getting the Reality Stone, but he gets it, and then he takes Gamora, and that is when we see our Group B and our Group A mix, because shortly after that, the Guardians and Spider-Man and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, they meet, and then they meet on Titan, and so they create a whole new group, which I'll just now refer to as Group A, just all together. So this Group A of all these two different these two different this culmination of these two groups works really well because it allows us to be able to focus the story a lot better, because it being spread out is fine. When you have everything, it's like, oh, okay, that's totally cool, but the less groups we have, right, the easier it is to kind of focus on what's important. And um and that's why they do the group method. So we start off with these groups, and then we combine groups, and groups come together, and then some split apart and stuff, and so but it works because it allows us to focus on what is really important during a particular story part. If we really want to focus on something, we bring groups together, because that way all of these two groups are focusing on the same fight, and that allows us to kind of hone in on why this is important, because we have more main characters dealing with this one problem. And so he gets the Reality Stone, he takes Gamora, and then he goes to this planet, which unfortunately I cannot remember the name of the top of my head. I'm sorry. And there's like this gatekeeper there, this kind of this woeful watcher, and he's telling Thanos about like what it takes to receive the Soul Stone, which is this orange one on the end. I'm sorry that the camera's being all buzzed. The orange one, and so he goes to retrieve the Soul Stone, and then this Watcher tells him that he has to sacrifice the thing that he loves the most. And that's actually a really good part of the movie, because in that part we really start to humanize Thanos, which is perfect. We really start to make Thanos seem like a believable character with believable feelings, right? And he starts crying. And Gamora's like, well, you're being a little bitch. Like, like the only person you love is yourself. I can't believe you're crying for yourself, right? And he's crying because Gamora is the thing that he loves the most. And he then, he then has to sacrifice Gamora, and then Gamora dies. Gamora is the second, or the third, what we're gonna call real deaths that we see, like legit, like OG actual deaths. He then gets the Soul Stone, and it hurts, and you can see it in his eyes, and he's still crying. And then we have Thanos' minions, who I failed to mention, but he has these minions, and his minions are there at Wakanda, and they're trying to get the Mind Stone. And then Thanos goes to Titan, so that he can retrieve the Time Stone, which he thinks has been removed from Doctor Strange, but hasn't. And Doctor Strange and his whole gaggle of heroes come up with a plan to stop Thanos and take the glove off of him. And basically they jump him, and they're able to slide it almost all the way off. And then Peter Quill, Star-Lord, gets really mad because he finds out that Thanos has killed Gamora, and it's like starts hitting him and stuff. So Mantis like puts him in this position where he's like kind of sedated, right? Like her powers do. And everybody's trying to work on, because he's really strong, so everybody's like holding him down, and they're trying to get the glove off of him, the gauntlet off of him. And And then Peter goes nuts, like Quill goes nuts, like he starts beating on this dude's face. And then Thanos like knocks out of his he comes out of his like little sleep or whatever you want to call it, and they've literally got the thing off, and he grabs it like that, like literally by the end of it like that. He grabs it and slides it back on, and then proceeds to kick the shit out of everybody. Almost kills Tony. And then Doctor Strange sacrifices the Time Stone in order to save Tony's life. Something that I should bring up, one of my favorite things, and I'm going to bring up this later, is that Doctor Strange, earlier, like right as they first get on Titan, like, one of the first big parts of the movie, he uses the Time Stone to look into the future to see all possible outcomes of dealing with Thanos. And he talks about how there's literally like millions of outcomes, and Tony asks him how many do they win, and he says one. There's only one where we win, and so he looks into the future, and then he then he gives the stone to Thanos, and Tony looks at him like, why would you do that? And Doctor Strange was like, it was the only way, and I think that's something I'm gonna talk more about here in a couple of minutes, but that's a really, really big deal. Like, I'm pretty sure Doctor Strange 100% knew exactly what was going to happen and just allowed it to happen. So, sorry. So now not Titan. Speaking of Titan, let's talk about Titan for a minute. Another humanizing moment is whenever we have Thanos talking about how Titan was his home. The planet Titan was his home, and then focus on that. There we go. How Titan was like his home, right? And how he tried to save his planet because it was overpopulating. He was trying to save his planet by wiping out half the planet, random killings, half the planet, and it wasn't biased. Rich, poor, sick, healthy, whoever, tall, short, it doesn't matter, right? His way of thinking was, if it's unbiased, it's okay, and that we could save our population by just halving it. Like, overpopulation is a problem, like literally a real ass problem in our world today. That is a real thing that we have to deal with. There's overpopulation in cities, there's overpopulation on the planet. Like, we have a big ass planet, right? But there's almost 8 billion of us on this planet, and that is insane. So Thanos, when we had this moment where we realized that Thanos is genuinely trying to make the universe a better place. Like, in his mind, he's trying to make the world a better place. And he wants to half the population of the universe, kill half of the universe, but not anybody in particular. Like I said, it's not bias. It's just what needs to be done. And so it really brings Thanos into like a really clear light, and you can kind of understand his motivations. So we finally get back to Wakanda, where they're trying to protect Vision. They're unable to. Thanos comes up. Scarlet Witch is able to blow up the Infinity Stone on his head, Vision's head, but Thanos has a time stone, so he just turns back time and to where the Infinity Stone wasn't broken, and just rips it out of his head and then puts it on his gauntlet, and then he has all of it. Thor tries killing him with his new weapon, Stormbreaker, which I wanted to talk about. But like that's just a cool moment. Like that's um, because he goes because he lost Mjolnir, so he goes and he wants to get a new weapon. It's a weapon of kings and all stuff. And he gets Stormbreaker, and it's really cool. It's just cool axe hammer thing, and um, so he gets Thanos like right in the chest, and he's basically killed Thanos, right? But Thanos is and Thanos tells him like, dude, you should aim for my head. Like you should that's how like I'd be dead. But he has all six of the Infinity Stones, and he snaps the gauntlet, and he snaps his finger with the gauntlet, and it wipes out half of the universe. It tears up his arm, and it destroys the gauntlet and stuff. Um, and uh, he he succeeds. Um, None of the characters who I thought were going to die died in this movie. All of the new characters died, right? So, Spider Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the Guardians, right? Like you have these characters who just came out, right? So they have their own thing, and they're just gone. They fade into dust. Which leads to one of the saddest moments of the movie. You see like Falcon disappear, and you're like, ah, okay, all right, all right. You see Groot start to disappear, and Rocket's like, oh no, and then you like starts touching the fields. You're like, oh no, no, no. The saddest moment in the entire movie, like one of the best moments, is between Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr., between Spider-Man and Iron Man. And Peter looks at Tony and is like, Mr. Stark, I'm not feeling very well. And then like falls into his arms and is dying, is literally fading away, and is telling Tony that he doesn't want to go away. Don't make me go. I don't want to go away. And it's such a powerful moment. And then he apologizes for Tony that he wasn't good enough. And it's an intense moment. And it's it really hit home, and it was just great. It was really good at pulling at your heartstrings. And after all of this horribleness, we see Thanos like walk up into this beautiful place, uh, and sit down, um, and the screen goes black. Like he like does this smirk, but it's not like a haha like a one smirk. It was like I did it. I did what had to be done smirk. Um, and then and then it would go straight to black, and that was the end of the movie. There's nothing more to that, and it was incredible. And right before he goes to sit down, he sees like a baby Gamora, and she asks him, she's like, "What did it cost you?" You know, like what did it cost you to go through everything you just went through? And he looks at her and he's like, everything. And that was a really cool moment, because it shows you that it's not like he was just doing this just because being evil made his dick hard or something. It meant something to him. He genuinely thought he was making the universe a better place. And he sacrificed a lot in order for it to happen. And so Thanos was wonderful, perfect character, perfect actor to put in that role. Um, uh, like I said, Doctor Strange knew ahead of time that there's only one thing, there's only one timeline where everything goes right. There's only one scenario, and that's why he doesn't try to stop Peter from punching Thanos in the face, Peter Quill from punching Thanos in the face. That is why he gives Thanos the Time Stone, is because he knows that these are the events that will lead to a bet to winning. Um, the snap fucks up his arm and fucks up the gauntlet, so it's all malfunctioning now. I don't know how that's gonna work. Um, the end credit scene, which was the end credit scene, was really disappointing. I'm gonna be honest. Like, for me, it was really disappointing. I don't really like Captain Marvel like as much as other people. Like, not that she's not a cool character, because she is. It's just like I'm not a Captain Marvel fan. And the end credit scenes, like it's Nick Fury and he turns into dust holding a pager, and the pager has Captain Marvel symbol on it, and it like it gave me nothing. Like, no end credit scene would have worked there. I think personally there shouldn't have been an end credit scene, genuinely. Because nothing could top that movie. Literally nothing. Right? I was excited to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp. I am no longer excited. Nothing will satisfy me until we get to see Infinity War Part 2. Because there is going to be an Infinity War Part 2, right? Let's talk about some things. All of these new characters that they got rid of have already signed up to do more movies down the line. So we already know that these characters are coming back, right? We know that. That's why we're not butthurt about it. Those are more like fake deaths. Tom Holland has already secretly, accidentally said that not only was there going to be a Spider-Man Homecoming 2, but a 3. And from other interviews and stuff, we know that he's signed on to do 6 movies with Marvel as Spider-Man, and that, so that, like, I know they're not going to get rid of him. It's just how they're going to bring these characters back. Black Panther is still showing in the movie theater. Literally, the movie theater that I went to, there was Avengers Infinity War, and then, like, across from that, there was Black Panther. Literally, the dude is still making money while Avengers Infinity War is out, right? And so I know he's coming back. Doctor Strange only had one movie, and everyone loves him. So he's come back. Everybody loves the Guardians. The thing is, all these old characters. Oh goodness, I am so sorry. All of these old characters, they are leaving. All of the original Avengers, like Captain America and Iron Man, and those guys are gone. Those guys are. I think that this movie that's going to come out next year, we'll see our characters trading places, where our old characters will have to give up themselves in order for these new characters to move on. And that's what's going to happen. These new characters are going to be the new Avengers. Our new Avengers are going to be Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Vision. Like these people, like, they are going to be the new Avengers. The old Avengers, they're done. Both Infinity War and its sequel were filmed at the same time, back to back. They filmed Infinity War and then immediately filmed its sequel. So there was no time in between it. There's not going to be changing of directors, no changing of writers. Literally, it was like one long movie shoot, one long production. So instead of, we made the first movie, wait a little while, we're going to make a second movie. They made the first movie and the second movie at the same time. So I know that this is going to be resolved in a way that I find satisfying, because the Russo brothers are working on it, the writers are working on it, the same actors are working on it, and they're working at it at the same time. So their mindset is still going to be an Infinity War. So there's no time to change your mind, because I know these things. In production, your mind changes. Like, as a director, my mind has changed throughout doing a shoot. And then your ideas change and your blah 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 blah. So when you take time to go, oh, we make this movie, and then we're gonna make this movie, your thoughts change, your thoughts on characters change, and then you change things that people liked about what you had envisioned. So the fact that these movies were made at the same time makes me really excited. Um, there are tons of fan theories out there of what went on. Obviously, there's a fan theory that T'Challa's little sister uploaded Vision's consciousness so that he's not actually dead. I want to see what happens with Gamora. I wonder if they destroyed the Soul Stone, if Gamora will come back. By the way, something that I forgot to mention, and it's like a really big thing. I wanted to get through the kind of synopsis of the movie before really, oh shit, before before really getting down and dirty with some little details. The Watcher, the gatekeeper for the Soul Stone, was the Red Skull from Captain America. He was cursed by the Tesseract, sent there, burdened with all of the knowledge of the universe, knowing where all the Infinity Stones are, but unable to actually touch them. And it's crazy. It was a crazy cameo. It was wonderful. It was just crazy enough for me to be into it. Like, it really was. Like, I really, really liked what they did there. Oh God, let's see. We covered a lot in this. This is a little over half an hour. This is almost an hour long. It's 47 minutes long. This is, we covered a lot. We talked a lot about the movie. This movie's funny. It knows when to be funny, and it knows when to be serious. I love this movie. This was a good movie. I really cannot wait to see what happens. I really do want to see, like, what's next for the world, the world's mightiest heroes. What's going to happen? And I'm really excited, especially because one of the things that they in credits was Thanos will return, and I knew that they were going to do that. I knew they weren't going to say anybody but Thanos, that Thanos would return, and so I'm really digging that, and I think that that's really cool. So yeah, um, yeah, I think we covered everything I really wanted to cover. I mean, we talked about the movie. I think we talked about some of my favorite parts, the parts with Peter. Obviously, all the jokes are fantastic within themselves. Doctor Strange and the theory that he knew was going to happen, and that's why he gave the Infinity Stone away, the Time Stone, because he knew that if he gave Thanos the Time Stone, that something would definitely happen. I also have my own little theory, and this is kind of a cop out. I have this theory that and this is if they want to go this way. I'm not saying that this is what it is, but I'm saying that the way that they could get themselves out of this hole that they've made, because they killed like half of a universe. They demolished their huge roster. Is by making the whole movie one of those instances, one of the um one of the many outcomes that Doctor Strange saw, and then it just goes back to him, and he's like, "Well, that was one of many instances where they didn't win." But I do believe that he knows what he was doing, that he had to give Thanos the Time Stone, that Thanos did have to collect all of the Time Stones, and that will affect the Marvel Universe somehow. I think personally, my own personal opinion is that he didn't kill half of the universe. I think that the Infinity Stones created an alternate universe where all of our new characters are now there at this alternate universe, and that will be the new Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that's just me. That's just what I have to. That's just my 2 cents. I really like what they did. I really like how they introduced all the characters, and I just think it was great. So if I were to give this movie a rating, because I've never really had to rate a movie before. But if I were to give this movie a rating, I definitely would have to give it like a 9.5 out of 10. A 10 out of 10 is really big, and like it had to be flawless. And there were very little. There was very like I'd have to think about it really hard to think about the things that I didn't like about this movie. But with that being said, I really liked this movie a lot, and it was fantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed talking about the movie, and talking about what went on and stuff. And I know I kind of went over things and talked about the stuff that I liked as I went through and all that stuff, and all that jazz. I know that most of this was me kind of just going through the story, but I think that was the best way for me to do it personally. I'm still getting used to doing these not video game videos, because I like doing stuff like this, but I'm usually used to just playing video games with you guys. So if you like live streams like this, please subscribe and like and watch my other videos. I have a video about what movie each Infinity Stone is from. I talk about what they do slightly, but I'm actually going to do a really big video about the Infinity Stones and what they actually do in the future. But if you like this, just hit the like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Um, the end screen stuff has been a little weird lately, so if you see me talk about things you can click and you don't see it there, it's because I actually don't have my laptop back from my buddy. I have a friend who accidentally left my laptop in his car, so I've been unable to put in-screen annotations into the videos. But when I get that laptop back, I will put all of the in-screen annotations up as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like talking about this kind of stuff, if you click here, here's a video about the Infinity Stones. It's my first pre-done video, and if you like to watch video games, here's a video game right here. I don't know which one. If you really like my beautiful face, just click my beautiful face, and you will subscribe to the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for putting the time to watch this. I know this is really lengthy, but I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And yeah, so yeah, and